Colin Prescott,
Yes,
welcome to CamTalks.
thank you.
Thank you very much for being here.
It's a great pleasure.
Have you ever done a podcast before, Colin?
No, I haven't, but it's a great time to be the first.
Wow, I like that. Do you listen to any podcasts?
No.
Wow, oh my God, this is a lot of
This is a
firsts here.
novelty. Yeah.
Well, Colin, the reason why I really want to speak to you is because you have been such a big role model in my life, particularly around the idea of aerial videography, exploration, innovation. I mean, we're going to talk about plenty of things, but why don't you tell me, what do you think people most know you for in this world?
I'm usually known as the balloon man to people who sort of half know me. So I guess for my ballooning, which is my early days, that all sadly came to an end in 2006 when I went for my 6-monthly commercial pilot's medical. And they said, bad news, you've got type 1 diabetes, and took all my licenses away by the end of the day.
That does not seem fair.
Well, that's what happens, unfortunately.
Colin, that's ridiculous. How can they take away your ballooning license for diabetes?
For pretty obvious reasons, you can't actually have a pilot's license anywhere in the world if you're a type 1 diabetic, because you can quite easily slip into a coma if you get your balancing.
Then I'm very
blood
happy
sugar.
that they took away your license. No, but that must have been heartbreaking as well. So when was the first time you ever flew in a hot air balloon?
I first flew in a hot air balloon in 1976, probably before you were born. And
Definitely before I was born.
and it was with an Afghan princess whom I was introduced to at a party. And in those days, hot air balloons and Afghan princesses were both the stuff of fairy tales. But she said she had a hot air balloon, and she took me for a ride in one. And I was completely hooked. I thought, this is amazing. And because I was working for advertising agencies at the time, I thought, I'm sure I can get some sponsors for this. And I did get a sponsor quite quickly. And then they started coming thick and fast. So I had to leave advertising completely, set up my own business, go full time. I've never worked for anyone since.
I love that. A true innovator. What about the Afghan princess? What happened to her?
Very sadly, she was killed a few weeks later after I went up with her. And so I never saw her again.
Blimey. Do you know how she died?
Yeah, she died in a balloon. A very nasty accident with a propane fire on board at about 1,000 feet.
Wow. Is ballooning dangerous?
Yes, it can be, but there are fortunately not that many accidents. I mean, you do, of course, hear of deaths all around the world from time to time. But on the whole, if you know what you're doing and your equipment is healthy and properly maintained, it should be okay.
How do you even train to become a balloonist?
It's just the same way as you do any other aircraft, basically. To get your license, you have to have done a certain number of hours. You have to have quite a lot of them done with a qualified instructor. You then have to do a checkout flight with a qualified examiner, and then you do a solo flight, and then you get your license.
Wow, just like that.
Well,
I mean, it makes it sound very simple there, Colin. But I mean, like every time what was the big balloon fair in Hampshire, near Hampshire? They used to have the Bertie Bassett balloon flying over, and it was kind of like, must have been Romsey or like
it was probably the Southampton show, which was on Southampton Common, which was something we created originally, and it went on for years until ballooning sort of went out of fashion, and we closed that side of the business, and it doesn't happen anymore.
So you created that?
Yes.
Bloody hell, I didn't know that. That scared the hell out of me as a kid, because you just see this huge Bertie Bassett, all sorts, flying in the sky. It was absolutely incredible. Why do you think that ballooning is no longer as in fashion as it used to be?
Well, two things. First of all, in 2001, we had a big problem because we had foot and mouth disease, and we were about to have our biggest year ever in what was then the Hot Air Balloon Company, and they closed the whole countryside to everything, as you probably remember, and so we weren't able to do any. We had 1,200 bookings in the year, and we weren't able to do any of them.
Wow.
So, I mean, luckily we had a little bit of spare cash set aside, and we had to lay a lot of people off, and we survived. but we lost a lot of clients in the process. They went and spent budgets elsewhere.
So you mentioned that obviously you got into advertising. I'm guessing that paid the bills for the passion side of ballooning. I can't imagine it's cheap to put balloons up in the
No.
sky. What was your first sort of commercial project with ballooning?
Uh, it was something called the Prize Guys, who made yogurt. They don't exist, doesn't exist anymore. But it was Unigate Dairies. They wanted to advertise prize yogurts, and they had these characters called the Prize Guys. And basically, what we offered was a big iconic thing that could fly in the sky with full PR backup, with properly thought through programs, for which they paid us a handsome fee.
Wow. And that must have led on to you're now known as the Balloon Man, is that right?
Well, yes, quite often, yes.
Yeah,
But
so
that led on to a number of clients in the first year. We had Typhoo, we had Terry's All Gold, we had British American Tobacco. That's just the ones I can remember. Osram light bulbs.
so what era was this? Was this
This is in the late 70s.
late 70s?
Yeah.
God, that must have been one exciting. All those ad men out there being like, we're gonna get our logo on the side of a big balloon, and then
That's
we're
right.
gonna.
Well,
And
we custom made all of them.
how do you even
So,
custom make it in a hot air balloon?
well, you get your design, and sometimes it was special shapes as well. So you have to get an aeronautical engineer to do all the calculations. And then it's built by one of two manufacturers in the country, one of which was in Bristol, one of which was in Shropshire.
Wow. And is that like handmade, kind of stitched together,
Well,
or is it?
they have a lot of seamstresses with machines just sort of rattling along all day long. Yeah.
Wow. And of course, so this must have been these must have been flown around some very popular places. Was that the point of advertising on the side of a balloon?
Yeah, we go to big events depending on what their target market was. And then we'd gee up all the media. We'd get photographs. We'd supply them, get television interviews, and basically analyze everything at the end of every year in a special report. And if we didn't get sort of twice as much value, if they 2 or 3 times as much value as they have paid, um, compared to the cost of actually acquiring it, if they paid for advertising, then we weren't doing our job properly. But we
Interesting.
always did.
Where did your entrepreneurial spirit come from? Who was it in your life? I mean, how old were you when you sort of started realizing that
I
you were
was,
going to do it yourself?
I was 26. It was very scary um, to a young ad man. And I hadn't actually got a clue how to run a business, absolutely no idea at all. But somehow we managed. I mean, I don't know how.
Were there people in your life back then that were very important to
Well,
learn
I
from?
found a balloonist who, because I didn't even have a license in those days. I was just a young ad man. But I saw him on Opportunity Knocks, which was a television program back then. And I thought, that's the man, because he's talking about balloons. I thought, that's the man for me. And I
Mm.
contacted the television station and said, could you give me his number? They couldn't, for obvious reasons, but they did refer him to me. And so he was the first man in. So I had a pilot, and he was a great extrovert, amusing man. Stayed with me for, oh gosh, 40 years or so.
Wow. And I mean, is the ballooning space quite popular? Are there like a lot of balloon enthusiasts out there, or is it quite a small world?
Um, there are a lot of balloon groupies around, but there are a dwindling number of pilots because there's less activity and less sponsorship, mainly because we're not doing it anymore.
That's sad. Are you saddened by that?
Yes, but we moved on because after 2001 and foot and mouth disease, it was getting more and more difficult, and we never got all the clients back either. So you know, it's just one of those things, and it's just gone slightly out of fashion, particularly nowadays when everything is computerized and everybody believes in performance, measured performance. So you can't measure hot air balloons and what they do.
I guess one person that springs to mind for me is your old pal Richard Branson, who used hot air
Yes.
balloons in a way that I don't think anyone would have thought that measuring the PR of his sort of stunts would convert to success. Um,
Well, he had a number of balloons, all of which we managed. But the point about Richard Branson is that I think that was probably the biggest mistake I ever made, was introducing him to ballooning.
Wow. I don't think that would have been his biggest mistake. I mean,
No,
why would you say that?
because he wanted to hog the whole limelight, to take the whole thing over, and it was difficult. And in particular, I mean, many years later, when everybody was trying to be the first to fly around the world, he got in the way. He hadn't got a clue what he was doing, and acted illegally as well.
Wow. What was the relationship between you guys like?
Uh, I think he would say absolutely fine, but he's an interesting character. He's not easy. He's well, a businessman.
Mm. And he really did make the most of the PR around the
Sure,
balloons.
sure did. Yes, yeah, he did. Yeah.
And I guess that must be quite frustrating for someone who is genuinely looking after not just the lives of yourselves, but also the lives of the people, on the ground and all sorts of stuff. To have people who are a bit mavericks and just want to do dangerous things. I mean, it's
Yes, well, he wanted the publicity.
and he got it.
He got it.
And and look at him now. I mean, I guess that's the thing about some people, is that they don't care how they get it. They just want it.
Something like
Um,
that.
but ballooning is dangerous.
Can be, but I mean, as I said earlier, it doesn't. It shouldn't be if you plan everything properly. I mean, I certainly did some um, exciting adventures, which you could say they certainly had their risks, partly because they'd never been done before, like trying to fly around the world. 1999.
When you say try, how successful was your attempt?
Uh, I flew with one other person, an engineer. We took off from Spain. Um, it was a tiring business. We flew for nearly 18 days, non-stop, and eventually had to ditch in the Pacific when the weather turned against us. And but it was the longest flight of any aircraft of any type in history.
18 days
18 days in a small capsule, yeah.
flying around the world.
Mm. So, I mean, almost half of all the number of hours I've clocked up in ballooning was on that one flight.
Wow. And when you say ditched into the Pacific so calmly.
Well, no, it was hairy. The weather forecast was appalling. The weather was getting bad, and we just decided we had to go down. I put out what's called a pan call, which is the one down from Mayday. In other words, we're not in immediate danger, but just to alert everybody that we were going to have to ditch into the Pacific Ocean. And the Japanese immediately picked up the emergency message and said, did we require helicopter rescue? I said no, because we thought we could get down safely, but please could you advise all shipping to pick us up, someone. And anyway, when we did eventually get it down on the surface, which took about 3/4 of an hour, I guess, came out the hatch. It was like Vietnam outside. The Japanese had decided to instantly treat it as a major aviation exercise.
So boats, planes, or
It's like Vietnam out there.
Christ. And you and your partner, I mean, you're the capsule you're in, it's not like a basket, is it? It's like a
No,
sort of living
it was a
quarter.
pressurized capsule with a bunk in it and a flight deck and a small kettle and a loo and not much else.
Wow. And this balloon was specially designed
Yeah.
for
We-
the journey. Did you fly higher than most balloons would in order
Oh
to
yeah.
go around?
Yes. The highest we flew was just over 30,000 feet, which was over central Thailand. And that was when we got into a thunderstorm. Very nearly had to force ditch then, but anyway, lucky. I mean, it's a miracle we survived that. We did get through that, and then flew a few more days beyond.
And this is still while you had your children.
Yes,
So
yes.
you must have put your family through absolute hell, Colin.
I guess my wife went through it, and I think you know my wife, so you can imagine she was not that keen, but she was very supportive.
I bet she was. I'm very proud as well. Like I know your son and daughter very well, and it's always something that we talk about with such pride. What our parents have achieved, and so it's nice that you can sort of inspire your children. I mean, have any of your children decided to follow in the similar footsteps, or are we?
Pollyanna was extremely keen, and I used to train her a lot. But then when my diabetes came along, I could no longer do it.
Of course, yeah.
So she was very upset about that. But
Oh,
and I think she was only 6 or 7 at the time. No, no, a bit more than that actually. But yeah, no, 16 or 17. Yeah.
I want to take a quick break now to thank Alderney Electricity for sponsoring this podcast. On an island of just 2,000 people, sometimes it can be quite easy to take the energy that we have for granted. But behind every light switch is a team of electricians, engineers, and administrators working hard to keep us going. And they don't just power our homes, they power our community. Through local sponsorship like this, Alderney Electricity continues to support the events, the projects, and of course the stories that bring this island together. So Alderney Electricity, thank you very much for keeping our lights on and for sponsoring this podcast.
oh, it's lovely. I mean, so you brought this book along, which is the Edge of Space.
Well, all the stories are in there.
I mean, well, that's the thing. Everyone should go out and check out this book. It's called The Edge of Space.
To the Edge of Space.
To the Edge of Space.
Which I didn't want to call it that, but the publisher insisted on calling it that.
Well, the publisher's done a good job because actually it's a very intriguing title. And the cover image for anyone listening to this is Colin Prescott hanging by a balloon with a top hat and an umbrella, literally holding on by the umbrella. Is this real?
Incredibly, right up to the top of the umbrella, it's completely real, one shot. We superimposed the balloon over the top, actually. But yes, it's with the clouds and everything. It was
So
shot from below, obviously.
you really...
I was actually hanging from a forklift truck.
Wow. I mean, I like that. A real ad man right there. And thank you for telling me the secret all these years later. But the interesting thing is that you don't just fly balloons for fun. You know, there is a publicity thing to these flights.
Well, the Round the World adventure was sponsored by Cable and Wireless, who were fantastic. But it changed our lives, literally.
What happened as a result of that attempt?
We got lots more business. Became much better known, so it was easier to go to presentations. I got commissioned to write a book. It just changed our lives.
And so, was this kind of before or after you got involved in the movie business? Because I know that
I got involved in the movie business about 20 years before that, but it was an adjunct to the hot air balloon company. So the two are combined, and it was called Flying Pictures. And that started developing aerial filming, only aerial. So producers can do more or less anything, and always could, but they did get stuck when it was anything off the ground. So any aerial stunts or filming from the air, we would tend to get the work. And I teamed up with a man called Mark Wolf, who was a Vietnam veteran helicopter pilot who had just come off a James Bond film. I think it was called For Your Eyes Only. I offered to look after his answering machine because that's all he had in those days, living in Primrose Hill. And he went off on another movie, and I just said, look, we're getting a lot of calls. I mean, shouldn't we be doing something about this? Okay, you're not available, but, other people are. And we just developed a business like that. And 45 years later, we sold the business.
Fantastic. What was like aerial videography is obviously, we all know about it in movies now, but like, was there any like first films that made those sort of aerial shots popular?
Well, the first film we did was Superman 2, I think it was.
Wow.
Yeah, and we then got those series, but we did own our own gyro-stabilized camera systems for the movies, and we owned all the approvals to fit them onto aircraft and that sort of thing. So we could do all the aerial filming, and we ended up by doing 12 James Bonds, all the Mission Impossibles, all 3 Harry Potters, and most of the Ridley Scott films.
Bloody hell, Colin. Wow, there you go. Well, there's a bit of a mic drop moment, isn't it? I mean, so then you must have seen an awful lot of celebrities and stars and...
Oh, yes. Yeah, they came and they went, and some good, some bad, some fun, some difficult.
I love that. You just say like, they are what they are. So you saw Pierce Brosnan back in the golden
yes, we did quite a
days.
few of those with him, yeah.
Wow. So in, I think it's GoldenEye, there's or no, Tomorrow Never Dies, when he, you know, the helicopter with the chainsaws on it.
Yeah, we did all that.
You did all
Yeah,
that?
there's pictures of it in my book.
I was wondering whether or not that helicopter actually belonged to you, the one with the chainsaws
No,
on.
we never owned a helicopter ever because all our film locations were all over the world. We just hired them in, modified them, and did whatever. But we had all the circular saws made. It was all actually filmed in Azerbaijan, funnily enough, and we fitted it to the helicopter, and
That's incredible. Because in the
and
film,
we had two big tables because the saws fell in between where it could land the helicopter.
yeah.
Two huge tables with a big gap in between for the helicopter blades.
In the film, was that supposed to be a wood chopping type tree, or
Yeah,
was it, or just supposed to just look mean?
No, I think it. Do you know? I can't actually remember the story.
Yeah, it was something like, look,
but they went whizzz and they would start cutting through things, and
and it looks very menacing.
yeah, exactly.
Very, very menacing. There's also, I mean, I'm trying to think about what the first films were that really brought in the need for helicopters and stuff. There is the shot in The Shining, the beginning of The Shining.
That was before us.
So that was before you guys.
Yeah.
That was the first time I ever saw an aerial shot in a movie. And then it feels like that just from then on, it was like, oh yeah, we also introduce things and show things from the sky as well.
Right. I don't think I ever saw The Shining, but we did quite a lot of opening sequences for films, quite often, and it was usually all one shot from a helicopter, sort of covering stuff. And I don't know whether you ever saw Escape to Athena. That was one of our very early ones.
Yeah.
And the whole opening shot is without a cut, with all the credits and all the rest of it.
And obviously you're bringing the camera operators with you then, I'm guessing.
Yeah, we usually sent a team. We'd acquire the helicopter, do all the pre-work. Then we'd usually send the film pilot, an aerial cameraman, and then a safety engineer, and a camera technician for fitting it all and the bits and pieces.
Ever get any very dangerous requests? I mean, are some directors just very like, oh, I need you to go down here and through there, and you're like,
Oh yeah, all the time. But what you do is you start off with meetings. They say, "What do you want to do with this?" And you say, "Well, actually, that would be difficult, but you'd find a way around it." And that's all the pre-planning.
What is apart from the movie business, what are some of the most weirdest requests that you've had?
I think Danny Boyle, for whom we did several films, he came to us one day, and he was coordinating all the creative activity for the 2012 London Olympics. And he said, I want to drop the Queen and James Bond into the opening ceremony. And anyway, this went on for a few months, and eventually the Queen was consulted and thinking, well, I don't know, she's not going to agree to that, is she? But she did. And I always remember going to Buckingham Palace to talk about how it was all going to work and happen. And the thing that amused me most was, having gone through the whole thing, it was all chaired by the equerry, the Queen's equerry. And he stood up and he just said, "Well, I must say, I've never had a meeting quite like this before." I thought, result.
That's mad. Do you know what? And I remember that opening. I think that's the best opening ceremony I've ever seen.
Well, it was the biggest viewing figures we ever had. I think it was over 1 billion, and it was live. But, of course, we spent the entire summer doing all sorts of projects for Danny Boyle in order to get the sequence right, because it was all cut in with live sequences of the day, but from previous recorded footage, because you have to go down the Thames and through Tower Bridge, and you have to have it opened and all that sort of stuff. And so we had everything to cut in, but the live stuff was done for real with the Queen and James Bond, who obviously were different people, jumping out at the same, but it had to be right to the second correct at the time and all the rest of it.
Wow. And
for the worldwide audience.
You must have had to keep this a secret as well.
I had to keep it a secret. I thought the amazing thing was, when it finally got signed, I went back and I said to Susie, we just signed the most amazing contract. I'm afraid I really can't do anything about it, but it's really, really good. And she said, "Don't be ridiculous. I've already talked to Mark about that." I thought, my God, Susie knows, but she never told anybody.
Well, I mean, you know what they say, behind every great man's a great woman. And your wife is one of the greatest women.
You're very
And
kind.
I mean, this is lovely because I mean, I've grown up knowing you and Pollyanna and Archie, and we've all grown up on this tiny little island of Alderney.
Yes.
Have you done any sort of ballooning over here? Did you ever bring your profession over
I
here?
did bring a balloon over here, and I flew it back to England from here. No hot air balloon has ever taken off from Alderney in history, as far as I know, and never has since. It was in 1994 in Alderney Week from the Buttes.
Mad.
Mad. And I thought it was great because we got Ray Parkin was in charge at the time, and he kept saying, right, you've got to be doing Cavalcade Day on the Monday. I said, the weather isn't always quite like that. I've got to have a wind that goes somewhere towards Britain, which is like a sort of fairly big arc, at the right speed. I've got to be able to get it off. The weather's got to be okay and all the rest of it. But then on the Wednesday, I got my Met forecast seemed okay. And what's more, I reckon that if I went to 10,000 feet, I could just about fly home, which is near Winchester. But anyway, we got the balloon off, and all the island turned out. There's a chapter about it in the book too. And I landed 5.5 hours later, unfortunately in Blandford Forum, but that's because Channel Islands Control wouldn't let me go above 2,000 feet until I was halfway across the channel, and all the winds were blowing the wrong way there.
Interesting. The planning of like a journey in a balloon. I can you just try and explain to me, because you don't have the ability to steer, is that right?
Correct, but you do. But you can. But the winds the winds blow at different directions at different levels, and on the whole, you have what's called an adiabatic lapse rate, where for every 1,000 feet you go up, you lose temperature so much, and the wind veers in the northern hemisphere. And on the whole, the higher you go, the further right you will go compared to a ground wind. So you get used to all these things.
So is it kind of like do you go in like a circle kind of?
Geostrophic is what the word you're looking for.
Geostrophic. Damn it, Colin! I knew that was the word I was looking for. I was about to say a bend, or like a dog leg, or like a sea. I don't know, but that's how you're picking your landing spots.
Yes, so that's where you pick your direction of travel. Yes, yeah.
How do you land a hot air balloon?
Quite often chaotically, depending on the speed of wind and the shelter you manage to get, and whether you can park it behind a load of trees. That helps, for instance, because the wind drops down
straight away
for landing. You can drag quite a long way in a basket. Quite often I've dragged anything up to 100, 200 meters before I managed to get it to stop.
Oh, God. Wow. And any injuries before?
I've never had any bad injuries ballooning, no. So
that is unbelievable.
I mean, I've had a few bruises, and I've got a few things in my leg, which I think, are rather like fiber, the big lumps. And you sort of think, oh, God, what are these? I better get them checked out. They just said, no, that's okay. That's consistent with sort of landing on it and that kind of stuff. So
wow,
you get little minor injuries, but nothing serious.
Is there is there a procedure to like landing in someone's garden? Because I feel like a lot of the time
you're entitled to land anywhere.
Really?
Yes. It's advisable to land somewhere sensible. I spent my life trying to avoid crops and anything like that, and to land somewhere sensible. And then always find whoever owns the land to be able to clear it away, give them a bottle of wine or something, and usually everybody's happy.
Wow. That is a very, I guess, a weird way of thinking about it today, when everything's about like ownership and you can't do this without permissions and stuff. But it sounds like back then it was a bit more accepted that.
Well, it's legal as well, because you can't steer balloons. They're called aerostats for a reason. They're static. They just go with the wind.
Oh, it's a shame that ballooning is just not as popular, because there's something magical about looking up and just seeing the fire and the woof, hearing the noises.
Yes, yeah, I know.
What do you miss most about ballooning?
I don't know really. I mean, when I had to give up, I just kind of moved on. Really, I've always been a bit like that.
Nothing really phases you. I mean, you've probably seen a huge amount of both business and pleasure and all sorts of stuff. Where does ballooning even come from? Like the history of ballooning, it's Who the hell was the idiot that decided to try this the first time?
It was a couple of Frenchmen, one of whom was called Pilatre Rosier, and the other was called, I forget. Anyway, they managed to get a couple of convicts to do their first experiment, which was in 1783. And it was a huge balloon made of paper, and they had burning straw underneath, which was a bit erratic. And I think they flew to about 1,000 feet and came down quite gently-ish, and it was the very first flight of any aircraft.
Wow. And have balloons sort of been adopted from like the military and stuff like that over the years? I imagine that would have been the first people that wanted to use this kind of
For
technology.
observation balloons, static balloons particularly, yes. Yeah, and also for snagging. So if you're in very sensitive areas, you have tether balloons with lots of lines that you don't want to fly into, so to avoid enemy aircraft. And they were used a lot for the siege of Paris in 17...
a while ago.
Yes.
God, you don't even think about that, do you? Like, so it's a bit like thinking about elephants being used in war. You're like, why would you use an elephant? But then, like, in those times, it's like whatever you can use that the enemy doesn't have, then that makes a lot of sense, including hot air balloons.
Yes. Well, the thing, hot air balloons, they were very, very occasionally used in those early 100 years, actually, until they discovered a lighter-than-air gas that they could fill up with a rubberized material like helium or hydrogen. They were always hydrogen then, in fact. Helium was later. Hydrogen was very inflammable, so you couldn't go anywhere near it with a flame. Otherwise, it just...
Bam.
Bam. Yeah.
Like the Zeppelins, is that right?
Absolutely, yeah. But they, of course, could fly much longer and much further.
Right.
Than these rather cumbersome hot air balloons. Modern hot air ballooning really only started in the 1960s in America, when they worked out that a heat source of tanks full of propane, which they used for forklift trucks, could actually be converted with a burner and provide a very central and very powerful pointed flame.
Which is relatively safe?
Yeah.
I mean, did the balloons ever catch fire? Because in my head, whenever you're burning something like that, you always think there's risk of that.
There is a risk of that, but the balloons were made of ripstop nylon, so they melted locally, so they quite do some damage, but they wouldn't set the whole thing on fire.
Interesting. The Zeppelin sort of blimp thingies, they used to be really popular, didn't they? Like particularly like advertising and stuff. Have you ever been in a Zeppelin or a blimp?
No, I haven't. No.
Wow, it's just not your thing.
I never really thought about it. I beg your pardon. I have actually. I did go in. Airship Industries used to have a blimp, and I did go for one ride in that when to take what was then Prince Charles over Highgrove.
Of course, it was.
And, so it was Prince Charles and me and a pilot and a couple of other people.
You're telling me that you went with the King of England in a blimp?
Yes, and I'd forgotten about it.
And you'd forgotten about it. Right, we better start reading this bloody book. Guys, honestly. Before we move on to other interesting things, I want to... Oh my God, Colin. Okay, I'm going to tell people at home what I can see on the back of the cover of Colin's book. First of all, we have a picture of... this is the Pacific Ocean dip.
Yep, it was all filmed by the Japanese military from a Chinook.
So you literally dropped into the Pacific Ocean.
Yeah.
Why do you look like a spaceman? I mean, you're literally dressed as a spaceman.
Because the one project I don't talk about too much, which was after Round the World, was to try and fly a balloon right to the edge of space. And I went and trained in Russia as a cosmonaut to do it in spacesuits. But in fact, we never managed to get that balloon off the ground. It was such a massive balloon, and it split at launch.
Split at launch. Wow. Well, that must have been bigger than any other balloon you've ever put together.
I think it was, I can't remember how high it was now, but it was, I think, 4 times the height of Nelson's Column.
Wow. And I mean, do you look back at that attempt with regret, or do you feel like in some way you could have given it another go?
I think it was one too far, and I was getting quite old at that stage. I was well over 50. And the sponsors reckoned they'd got all the publicity they wanted out of it. And that was the end of that.
Interesting. I want to take a very quick break to thank Bell & Co for helping to sponsor this episode. If you're looking for a place to live on Alderney, whether it's renting or buying, go and visit Bell & Co. They have all the information about what's available on Alderney and can also help guide you to some of the best things to do on the island. Go and visit bellandcoalderney.com and find out how you can escape to paradise. Back to the episode. How do you feel about it today? Because obviously today there's a new generation of extreme advertisers. You've got people like Red Bull who are literally dropping people from the edge of space, skydiving and stuff like this.
Yeah.
Is it just a different game these days?
Not really. I mean, they were all games we were involved in one way or another. But there's not much left to do.
Yeah, it's true, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything's kind of been done.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate that. I mean, that's something that my generation are dealing with mentally, is thinking, well, what can we possibly do?
Yeah, what can we do that's really special?
Yeah, it's a tough one, really. And obviously, one of the things that we've spoken a lot about is drones, because, of course, the moment that drones came along, your aerial videography business has had to adapt.
That was an interesting one, because we thought that when CGI came in, computer-generated imagery, that we would lose most of our helicopter work. In fact, it increased all our workload, because film directors wanted very technical backgrounds to superimpose things on, for which we were employed regularly by movies.
Interesting. So the first wave of CG didn't really hurt.
No, not at all. But when the drones came along, they were just beginning to make an impact. And then we sold the business in 2020, and now I've had a huge impact since.
Huge. I mean, that's the thing. I remember introducing you to my friend Ed Vanas.
Yes, of course, I do remember, yeah.
Currently
nice
doing
guy.
very well in Dubai, doing
Good.
drone shows. So these thousands of drones out of the
Yes,
sky.
of course.
He was building drones when we were at film school, and putting GoPros onto them and stuff. And so when DJI started making them, it was like, oh, okay, the guys involved, and just different in it. It's like it's one pilot. It's super easy to fly. Cheap, yeah. How's your drone flying skills there, Colin?
Well, I got the instruction book out, and it didn't seem to tell me very much. And I thought, oh no, I'll wait and see Cameron. He'll tell me. I'm not very good at instructions. And
oh, that's absolutely fine. Well, listen, I'm very happy to show you the ropes of drone flying. I do feel kind of bad as well, because I mean, just like all technology kind of can wipe out, a whole generation's worth of wisdom. That when it comes to drone flying, it's like I don't know anything about the wind, the pressure, even the laws.
Yeah.
Still lets me fly it.
Yeah. Absolutely, yeah.
And
sure.
you just go, okay, and it's 4K, very high resolution.
I know. Well, that's modern technology, which we didn't have. So
it's incredible. I think I call my drone Lucky, because Lucky keeps flying back to me.
Right.
And and that's the weird thing about these drones, is that even when they disconnect from the device,
they come back.
They come back to you. They find their way home, which is really, really great.
Yeah.
And obviously, in recent years, they've been used so much in wars. People have adapted them as real killing machines. That actually the price of drones are coming down. It's like, at what point are we all just going to own it? I mean, we do all own a drone now. If you want a drone, you can go and own one.
Yeah.
And so this, for anyone listening, this is the DJI Mini, which is the same one that I own, which is great. I think it's a great one.
Yeah.
They're 250 quid.
Something like that, yeah.
They're 249 grams, which is 1 gram under the legal limit of having to register it with the civil air authorities. And you can fly them like a little toy.
Yeah.
And the shots you get are just phenomenal. I think it's great. And I think Alderney's first experience with drones, I think I was the first person to fly a drone. Actually, Ed Vanas was the first person to fly a drone over here ever. Because that was we were at that time. Then I believe that Steve Roberts may have shot one down, which was flying around his daughter's window over here, and he took a shotgun.
I remember.
And blew it out of the sky.
Yeah.
That was
very antisocial.
Very antisocial. That was a warning to all drone pilots out there. It was like, don't go near Steve's house. I thought it was quite funny, really.
Yeah.
But look, you wanna have a little fly around Alderney?
I'd love to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is your story with Alderney? Because I always like to find out from people, like, when did you first come here? When did you first even find out about it?
Well, I first came here with Susie, because she spent a lot of her childhood here because her father was a very, very bad burns victim and was a member of the Guinea Pig Club. And she used to come here for all their holidays because he didn't like to be seen out, but people got used to him here because he had virtually no face left, and has been coming ever since. So even if I didn't want to come to Alderney, I have to.
Interesting. So Susie, your lovely wife, is your reason for being here?
She is, yes.
Wow. When was this that you first?
This was in 1987.
Okay, so when did you meet Susie? When and where?
I think in 1987.
Right, okay, yeah. Susie, if you're listening to this, you know exactly when.
I met her in London, and a year and a half later we were married, and we're still together.
A year and a half, and you popped the question?
Well, actually, strictly speaking, she popped the question to me.
Of course she did. Of course she. This is Susie Prescott, everybody. Yeah, there is no way that. How did she pop the question?
I can't remember.
Wow. Surely you remember how you got engaged.
Well, sort of, yes. That's private.
Thank you, Colin, for putting me in my place. Well, I very much appreciate that. Well, as they say when people are dating people, it's love me, love my island.
Yes,
so,
exactly.
You
That's
came
right.
over here.
But I tell you another thing that is quite extraordinary. There's a lady here, I don't know whether you know her, called Emma Burrows.
Mm-hmm.
You know her?
Yes, yeah.
She's an eminent lawyer in London, married to Olivier,
Mm-hmm.
and they have a holiday house here. They come here every single summer and have been for a very long time. We came over here once, Susie and I, and it was very, very foggy. And after many, many, many hours, we got diverted to Guernsey, having taken off. And we stopped in Guernsey and waiting for the fog to clear and all the rest of it. But there was a lady who was just saying, there's no point in me coming to Alderney now. It's been too long. I was only coming for a day and a half. I want to go back to Southampton. And Susie took her under her wing and went and negotiated with the airline and everything. And they got her back to Southampton. And the next day when we arrived in Alderney, the daughter of this lady, who's Emma Burrows, she came round to the house with a bottle of champagne and a card and a bunch of flowers, saying, "Thank you for looking after my mum." Anyway, we looked inside the card, and there was an address on the top, and I thought it was a wind-up. And I said, "What's this address?" She said, "That's where I live." "Well, in London?" She said, "Yes." I said, "That's not the street I was brought up in. That's the house I was brought up in." That's 1,000,000,000 to 1 chance, isn't it?
Hold on. So you were in the same. You grew up in the same place.
I was brought up in the house she now owns in London.
That's insane.
In Barons Court.
That's insane. Wow. Do you think that Alderney has a spooky sense of the world vibe?
You would have thought so from that story, wouldn't you?
I think so. Yeah, that's so bizarre. So you were a Londoner by.
I was lived in London for the first 40 years of my life. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I was not a country boy, but I am now.
So your mum and dad, what did your mum and dad do?
My dad was a banker. My mum was a housewife. I was brought up in Fulham. And we left. Well, Susie and I left London finally in 1991.
Wow! And then that's when you found Winchester, or
Yeah.
just outside of Winchester. Wow! So you really are a Londoner, aren't you?
I'm a Londoner by birth, yes, or
Wow.
by background. Yeah.
What was London like growing up there in those times?
Well, it was all we knew, so it was just how it was. But I would never go back now.
No. I mean, do you ever go back these days?
I try not to.
No.
I do for the occasional meeting and things, but straight out again.
Yeah, makes sense. And so when you first started coming here with Susie, I mean, what was the thing about Alderney that you really liked?
I just thought it was an enchanting small island, and everybody knew everybody. An enormous fun.
And your children have obviously grown up here, playing on the beaches,
Yeah,
enjoying
of course,
themselves.
that's lovely. Of course, it just moves from one generation to another, and that they all know each other. It's great.
And you have grandkids now.
Yes.
How do you feel being what are you, granddad, grandpa?
I said I'd like to be called Colin, which is what Susie calls me, which is the French pronunciation of my real name.
Okay.
And but they never could say it, so they call me Cogger.
Cogger. Oh, that's absolutely lovely. You know, we all have nicknames for our friends, and obviously, your daughter Pollyanna, to me and Charlie when we were young, her name was Pollen. Um,
Right,
I
yes.
don't. I guess that's something to do with Colin. I think we just thought we'd lump her in with you as well.
Yeah.
But it is amazing how family focused this island
Yes.
is, isn't it? And just kind of like, I mean, I always thought when I was a kid, it was like growing up here was kind of like going to Butlins every year. You'd see the same faces.
Yeah,
And I'm guessing you've seen the same faces since you first started coming
absolutely.
here.
And it's just lovely to know everybody and for everyone to reunite the whole time.
Isn't that mad? Is there any other place in the world that could have that?
It's small enough here, yeah.
It is bizarre, isn't it? I
Mm.
mean, like you must have a lot of friends who live in different places and stuff. I mean, does some of them not? Does some of them have other places? Are we being really silly here? Like, are there loads of Alderneys out there? Like, or are we very unique?
I would say fairly unique, yes. I mean, because of the size. I mean, what is it? 1,500, 2,000 people, but
I think my
it-
school was bigger than that.
exactly, yeah,
It's bizarre, isn't it? It
Yeah.
really is bizarre. And to be a 3 by 2 mile island,
yeah.
1.5 miles, it's just it's so bizarre, isn't it? It almost feels like the perfect storm. Well, not the perfect storm, more like the Goldilocks effect. It's like not too big, not too small,
Exactly, yeah,
just right.
yeah. No, it's great.
What's
And
your
it sounds
favourite?
familiar.
What's your favourite things to do on Alderney, apart from the family time?
I play a bit of golf, including with your father, 9 o'clock every morning. He usually turns up a little bit late, but and doesn't always turn up. I do whenever I can when the weather's good. And then I go cycling around the island just for exercise.
Oh, brilliant! Is this a good island to cycle around? There's a couple of hills in there.
Oh, yes. I cycle up Torgy every other day.
Oh, Colin, what's wrong with you? That's crazy. Tell me you've got a little electric.
No, that's cheating.
Really?
Mm.
I'm pretty. Doesn't Susie have an electric bike?
She does.
Yeah. Okay. So, but she doesn't mind cheating. It's not cheating if she's Susie Prescott.
Exactly. Yeah, yes.
Cycling up.
She's not a cyclist. She doesn't like cycling. So.
Torsley's a massive hill, though.
Yeah, but you just sort of get used to it.
Yeah. Would you like crank down the gears?
First gear all the way up. Yeah.
First gear all the way up. And this is like road cycling.
Yeah.
Wow. And do you do that in Hampshire as well?
Yes, and internationally, I go once a year to the big South African race in Cape Town, which is 110 kilometres up and down the mountains,
Oh my God.
non-stop.
Jesus, Colin, you've gone from one extreme to the other.
Well,
And your son Archie, I know he's very much into cycling as well. I mean,
Yes, he is.
Have you guys found some fun trips together with that?
well, he's much better than me.
So he just goes ahead.
He's also quite a lot younger,
Very much so.
and so yeah. But he's doing the Tour de France route again this year, or part of it, and he is dropping down the Dolomites the other side. And he just called me up one day and he said, "How about you meet me on the other side of the Dolomites and we go water skiing on Lake Como?" So we're going to do that next month.
Fantastic. So you're still water skiing. There is a picture on the back of Colin's book of him water skiing with one ski. Is that as hard as it is to water ski with two skis?
You just sort of graduate into it. But that particular shot was quite difficult to do because fully clothed and with a tray of drinks in one hand made it a bit more complicated.
What was that for?
That was for some silly commercial or something. I think I was supposed to be Manuel with a false moustache. And
Hold on. Are you in dry clothes there?
yes,
So how did you get on a water ski with dry clothes on?
I tried to rehearse all day and the light was going and I'd never managed to do it with the tray of drinks.
Before
But then
stacking
we just
it?
had to do it and go for it. And by some miracle, I got onto the water. With a lot of spare rope, the boat just goes like hell and you're sitting on a jetty and you just...
Wow.
And suddenly I was up. I'll never forget the faces of everyone in the boat that was going,
Oh
wow.
my God. I love that. Have you done any water skiing in Alderney?
Yes, I have. Yeah. I think back in, I can't remember which year it was, but yes, I did go water skiing, and at the time, Steve Shaw, I think, was the harbour master, let us do it in Bray Bay,
That's lovely, isn't
because
it?
NBC were over here doing a documentary about me.
Oh, Amazing. What was that about? Why you got NBC coming over?
I think it was a series called Executive Lifestyles or something.
Right.
And they said, what would you do? And I said, well, I go to Alderney and I go water skiing. And they said, well, could you water ski in Alderney anyway? So somebody very kindly supplied a boat and a ski. And
I love that. Wow.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that obviously you brought a balloon over to Alderney before. Did you ever do any other projects on Alderney?
No, not really. There's one project I always wanted to do, but I've never managed to. Can I talk about this?
Please do.
It was. Have you ever seen any Buster Keaton movies?
Yeah,
And there was
of course
one
I have.
called The General.
Yeah.
And he used to, which made me laugh. And I always remember my childhood. Always had an image of it. It was so fantastic, of a railway cart with a sort of push me pull you thing, and he'd go along manually, and then there'd be a big whistle, and they think, "Oop!" because here comes a train. They'd jump off and just lift it off the rails, wait for the train to go by, then put it back on again. I thought us in Alderney having the only railway line in the Channel Islands, it would be an enormous attraction to have something like that.
Absolutely, yeah.
And actually, I talked to the Railway Society here about it, and they just said didn't think there'd be much call for it. So I thought, well,
Interesting. Well, that sounds like they're trying to hog the railway to me. Yeah, we have a railway, but it's it's just I mean, the funny thing is that when we have film crews and people come over here and they see our railway, they think it's like an active railway. Like they're like, they're like, what time does it go? And I'm like, yeah, you don't go very far. That's the funny thing. So recently, like I've had Sky, BBC,
Yeah.
and Channel 4 over. I say I've had them, and they've come over, and I've been a local fixer, which is great for me because I love filmmaking and I love helping people out. But it's amazing when you take people who are so used to being in control of every aspect and you put them on here. They've got their call sheets, they've got their bloody this, that,
Yes.
and that. And the moment they're here, I'm like, guys, just forget about all that. If you need anything, you ask me. We'll make it happen. Because it is like a duck in the ocean or something silly. It's like you come to Alderney and you think, it operates the same as the UK, but it just doesn't, does it? It's
Yeah.
it's very, very quirky. And I think we did something on the train recently, actually. So I know exactly who you're talking about. Maybe we'll get the train guys over here and ask them why you don't have your your own little railway line.
Yeah.
Did you ever do any movies sort of like on Alderney? Because I know my dad did some Rosebud movies many
No,
years
we
ago.
didn't. No.
That's a shame, isn't it? We could have. What do you think Alderney needs to do in order to attract big productions?
Gosh, I don't know.
Because it's quite unattractive, really, isn't it? It's very expensive.
We were so used to doing big budget movies, and all that had been decided before you even get into a meeting. It's sort of where they're going and why they're going there. And
what could Alderney be used for? I mean, I kind of like the coastline. It feels very Jurassic Park.
yes.
Are you a fan of movies?
Yes, I used to be. Don't see them so much now. But yeah, just purely because what I worked in. But
Wow, you must have been able to go to a lot of these film premieres. That must have been fun.
yeah, they were fun. Actually, I always remember one where we sent off about 5 or 6 people with a helicopter, 2 helicopters, I think, down to Morocco to film something called Ishtar. Did you ever see Ishtar?
I've heard of it.
It
Yeah.
was with Warren Beatty and Dustin Hoffman. And no, I beg your pardon. Sorry, it wasn't. It was a different one. It was with Matthew McConaughey. I forget what it was called now. Sahara.
Yes. Yeah.
Sahara, right. So they all went off there, and every few days I'd get a call from the team, and they'd just say, "This is possibly the worst movie we've ever worked on. It's just unbelievable how bad it is." And they went on saying that. And then when we got home, they had a crew showing, and I heard all our guys were going to see it. I said, "Why are you going to see it?" He said, "We wanted to see just how bad it is." Anyway, the next day I called up one of them and I said, "Well, what was the movie like?" He said, "Surprisingly good."
Really? Do you know, I have not seen Sahara.
Right.
No. But Matthew McConaughey, I mean, I
Yeah.
could watch him
Yeah.
for hours
He's
anyway.
good. Yes.
He's
yeah.
a great actor. What are some of the projects that you're most proud of in terms of flying pictures? What do you remember the most?
Well, I think Round the World was the sort of the big iconic one, even though it was not successful. I mean, we got halfway round.
Yeah, of course.
But that was scuppered by Richard Branson because he had tried earlier and had flown into Chinese airspace without permission, which we had permission for. They then withdrew it for us. We got a message from the ambassador in Beijing, which was then from Peking, which was now Beijing, to say they will shoot you down if you infringe their airspace, having given us permission because of what Richard Branson did.
Well, that's a bit extreme, isn't it? We're going to shoot you down.
Yeah, absolutely. They said, we do not want you in our airspace. And just because of what Branson did.
Oh, Rich.
And
Branson.
Oh, yeah. And so we had to re-engineer our whole balloon, which is why we took off rather later than we meant to, in order to be able to fly way south into the Sahara to try and avoid China from the south, which we managed to do. But of course, by the time we got to the Pacific, which was 18 days later, slow, we couldn't have forecast the weather that far ahead.
Of course, yeah. Well, in alternative universes, you made it. And that's what you want to think of. You should be very, very proud. It's nice as well because I believe you were very heavily involved in the film about ballooning. What's the movie about ballooning? It's like a film within a film. What's
The Aeronauts?
The Aeronauts, yes.
I coordinated all of that.
Yeah, and
that was my last big project.
Well, was that a project you felt comfortable just walking away after? Were you like, okay?
I wasn't at all comfortable not being able to fly the balloon, but I had to hire someone in to do that. But
Wow.
But it was a great movie with a great director, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. Just pre-retirement.
Yeah, I bet. I mean, nowadays, how rare is ballooning these days? Is it?
It's not, there's much less activity. This week, which is coming up, which is the first week in August, there's always the Bristol Balloon Fiesta, which is as big as you get. And they have quite a few balloons that go to that, but it's not nearly as big as it was.
Wow. Do you know what, Colin? I have never been in a hot air balloon.
Oh, dear.
I feel so, yeah, I'm sitting here talking
You haven't
about...
lived, yes.
I know, I haven't lived. Yeah, it's so sad. I'm like, why have I not been in a hot air balloon? I don't know. Maybe I sat in a basket once or something, but I never went in the sky.
Yeah.
God, that's a shame. Colin, what are you doing?
Well, I can't help now, unfortunately.
Of course you can. We can find a hot air balloon. Did you see that video recently of the skydiver who tried to jump out of a hot air balloon? It was a private tour, and the skydiver didn't tell them and just literally tried to jump over the basket. Have you seen this?
No.
Oh God, it was. It obviously went viral, but the pilot was just hanging on to this man's scruff. And someone's filming him, and he's saying, "I'm not letting go of him." And this guy's going, "Let me go, man. Like, I've done 1,000 jumps before. I'll be absolutely fine." And the pilot's just going, "No
really?
way." And it was amazing because obviously afterwards, I started looking into it and interviews with the pilot, and the pilot was saying, "Look, it's really dangerous if one more person jumps out, and the balloon may not have enough people in or whatever, and all these different risky things."
That would be all right.
Oh, there you go. Do you know what? I thought the pilot liked the 10 seconds of fame or whatever, but it was risky, I guess, for randomers just to get into a hot air balloon.
Yeah.
And jump out skydiving. Have you ever thrown people out of a balloon skydiving? Or
Yes, several times. Yeah. Well, you can probably see in the pictures in the book. There's even a picture of. Can I do this or not?
Yeah, go on, flick it.
That's cool.
God, there's me thinking it was really dangerous skydiving from hot air balloons.
Where is it?
Oh, the internet loves a bit of rage, doesn't it? Yeah, it went really viral. That
show
clip,
this
by
to
the
the
way.
camera.
I would have thought that ballooning would have become more popular because of it, but it's a shame, really. Some of these pictures, by the way, are absolutely fascinating.
Like that sort of thing.
Okay, so this is a picture of upside down with a hangover, and there's somebody literally stood on top of a hot air balloon. I'm going to try and spin this so that the people can see on this camera there. There's literally a dude stood on top of a hot... Who is that guy?
He was a chap who worked for us.
And what? First of all, how do you stick somebody on top of a hot air balloon?
Well, as you're inflating it, he just has a line to the top, and he goes up with the balloon.
Interesting.
But
Wow.
he eventually walked in. Well, it's like a big giant sponge at the top, but when it's like that, but he did put the skydive off.
Skydive off. This seems like back in these days, you were doing things just like that. Health and safety would never let you do it these days.
Absolutely. Right? Well, this particular one was in Superman 3. And I was doubling for Pamela Stevenson, as you can see.
This is a picture of Colin dressed in a very saucy outfit with nice, long, luscious blonde hair. And wow, okay. So you've done some stuntman.
Yes, I've done quite a few stunts over the years, ballooning and water skiing, funnily enough. But on this particular occasion, you can probably see this is the longest ever human load from a helicopter. There were 3 of us. Like a puppet on 3 lines,
just getting thrown through the air.
Well, just to fly down the Grand Canyon, which they wanted.
Wow! So you're being dragged. You're being dragged through the Grand Canyon with a big helicopter fly. What the hell is going on?
300 feet below, because Richard Lester, who was the director, he kept wanting the balloons to be smaller and smaller. I said they couldn't possibly lift you. I mean, it's too small. So we devised this system, but there was nowhere in the world that we could do it because it was illegal to be attached to a helicopter and for them not to have a release mechanism. I was not prepared to be on one of those balloons with a release mechanism. Click, gone. So we went to this helicopter company at Page, Arizona, which is at the top of the Glen Canyon, which doubled for the Grand Canyon. And so we want to do this, and so he said, "Oh, I'll go and talk to our local aviation people." But basically, it's illegal here too. And he came back the next day, and we said, "Well, how did you get on the meeting?" They said, "Oh, they said that's okay." I said, "How the hell did you swing that?" He said, "Oh, I said we got these 3 English dummies come here. They want to come and fly from them. We can't do this." And they said, "Oh, they'll be all right.
The English will be fine."
So we got an exemption.
That's incredible. Wow. I mean, this is the point, is that, like, have we forgotten how to take risks these days?
I know. I know, yes.
Like, what you guys were doing, was so... Yes. I mean, there was no rule book. You were making... Is that you and Margaret Thatcher?
Yes, it is.
Bloody hell. What were you doing with Margaret Thatcher?
We went to a New Year's Eve party with a balloon, and she was an invitee.
Jesus.
As the Prime Minister.
And you're dressed as an ostrich as well.
Yes.
Wow.
But...
This is incredible.
I can show you. I was just going back a few pages.
This is a lot of effort as well. Like, I'm really glad that you put all these stories together, because this is such a great tribute to your life.
Thank you. So this was for Game for a Laugh, which in those days had 17 million viewers on a Saturday night, and it was on Christmas Day, and I put the idea to them that we could recreate Winnie the Pooh, and I could dress in a bear suit and go up in a balloon. And there I am in there. You see,
this is and the sail Debenhams. I love that. So just at the top, just to make sure that we get just to make sure that we actually get some advertising in there, because that's what pays for it, right?
Yes, of course. Yes, yeah. And it was peak time television on Christmas Day. It was good fun. That.
Are you an adrenaline junkie?
No, far from it.
Really?
I work it out very, very carefully. I mean, I take risks, but I'm talking historically, of course.
Yeah.
But I'm not an adrenaline junkie. No, I can't. No way do I just want to go and rush into something.
I never thought you did. Ever since I've known you, I'm like, no, that can't be Colin. Surely not the same man. Oh, well, look, Colin, this is absolutely fantastic, and I really hope that anyone that wants to go and read To the Edge of Space can go and pick it up, because
it's available second hand. It's from Amazon, because it's out of print.
It's out of print. There you go. I mean, Jesus, like. I mean, we're going to have to find a way to make sure this doesn't ever disappear fully. Maybe we can get it on Kindle, maybe, or we can get an audiobook. Would you consider reading an audiobook of your
I would. I don't think anybody would be interested anymore. I mean, that book is 26 years old now.
Oh, well, listen, if anyone is listening and they're interested and they want to try and lobby Colin to do more, then I would love that, because I mean it is fascinating to me. I always find that my parents' generation has just had exposure to a world which we don't have anymore. You
Yeah,
know,
it's
you
true.
made the rules and you broke the rules, and now we have
And
to
you
live.
suffer the consequences.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
My generation are just like, oh, damn it, we're not allowed to even learn how you know, what to do or what not to do, because yeah, someone already spoiled the fun. But you know, the fact that you were in advertising, you were in filmmaking, you know, you were in record breaking. I mean, that is a life truly well lived. Is there anything left that you want to do? What's your goals now?
I'm retired now, I think. Well, no, I don't really have any ambitions left, to be honest.
Wow. I mean, you say that, but you know, I feel like someone like yourself would find something when it comes to you, not
Well,
necessarily.
Still quite keen on that little railway.
Okay. Well, maybe we can try and make that happen.
Yeah.
Will you move to Alderney full time? Because I know you're still living in Hampshire.
Probably not, but it's a lovely place to come and visit.
See, that's incredible, isn't it? Because I mean, like, if you can fly back and forth,
Yeah.
you get the best of both worlds,
Well,
really, don't you?
absolutely, yes. Long may that continue.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, we haven't even spoken about the cost of getting here, but maybe ballooning will be cheaper than Aurigny one day.
I doubt that, and a lot less reliable.
And a lot less reliable. Would we ever be able to get a helicopter service on Alderney? Is helicopters expensive?
Helicopters are very expensive.
Oh, right. Well, then any other way that you'd... Okay, what's the most imaginative way? I mean, you've already done it, like getting from the UK to Alderney, but how else could we...
I went the other way around, actually, Alderney to the UK.
Alderney to the UK. How long did that take you?
I think it was about 5.5 hours.
Okay, that's a tough one.
But I ended up in the middle of a farm in Dorset somewhere.
Right, that was
not
awkward.
particularly convenient, yes.
Yeah, getting to Alderney is always the trickiest thing.
I know.
Weather-wise. I mean, like, I get annoyed at the fog and stuff like that. You must have spent your whole career worrying about weather.
Weather, yes, weather, and actually it's quite nice not to have to think about weather all the time now,
Right.
which I did always.
Yeah, and I guess you didn't even have an app in those days. What did you do? Just open the window and see
Call the Met Office and pay them quite a lot of money.
Really?
Mm.
Wow. Yeah, no, I can imagine that was... And then you had to go without knowing exactly when the weather was going to turn on you.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow. Well, it looks like the weather's turned today on Alderney. Just
Foggy.
a little bit,
Mm.
a bit foggy. I believe my sister's plane is being delayed. Let me see
dear.
if she's managed. No, I don't think she's got in it. She was supposed to be in about an hour ago.
Oh dear.
We'll wait and see, right?
Yep. Should be right. It's getting better.
I think so. Well, look, Colin, thank you very much. Thank you very much for joining me.
Great pleasure.
Just lastly, then, I mean, so I know we touched on you know, some of the things you like about Alderney, but how would you describe Alderney to somebody who doesn't know what this place is?
It's a magical, scruffy little island which is absolutely ideal for holidays, but you should live here for several generations to really get the most out of it.
Well, I know several of your generations will be here for many, many years to come. So, Colin Prescott, thank you very much for joining me.
Great pleasure.